Hello and welcome to YouTube Live. I'm Vishnu, and in the next little while or so, I'm going to discuss some of the big stories that I've been tracking today. The really interesting story which I found today was a report inclusive of pictures of the presence of two large Chinese warships in the Indian Ocean region. In fact, at this juncture, there are a total of 7 Chinese warships in the Indian Ocean. Now, why is this important or interesting to us? That's something which I'm going to first try and explain to you. But if we just take a look at this entire area on Google Earth, then our area of concern stretches from the Malacca Straits over here, all along our exclusive economic zone, all down the coast of Africa, and of course, certainly the Persian Gulf region as well. But what's happened in the last couple of years is that off the coast of Djibouti, we've got the Chinese actually setting up a fairly significant port. And that's something in this area where they've set up a port in Djibouti, and that's something which they have deployed their ships on. So that's something that the Indian Navy likes to keep an eye on, because this entire area here is where we have our area of interest. Now, what exactly is this new threat? Now, the word threat I use loosely because since the time of the Wuhan de-escalation between India and China, there is a sense that both countries really want to live together. But in the Indian Ocean region just now, this vessel, it's called a landing platform dock LPD. It's a very sizable Chinese warship, 27,000 tons. This is something which has been tracked by a maritime reconnaissance aircraft of the Indian Navy. Now, there are other aspects as well. Now, this is another image, in fact, of that ship, a much clearer image of this. So, right now, as I mentioned, there are 7 Chinese warships in the Indian Ocean. 3 are on their way out, back to China from Djibouti, and 3 are entering, and this one ship, a sister ship of this particular class, the picture I showed you earlier on, is independent of the 3 who are going to be over here. All of these ships, as they enter through the Straits of Malacca or the Straits of Lombok further south, are tracked by aircraft like this of the Indian Navy. It's called the P-8. Now, what is interesting and important over here is that Navy sources say that the presence of Chinese submarines like this is a Chinese Shang-class submarine. It's been operational in the Indian Ocean in the past. We don't know if it's there at this juncture. We don't believe it is. Cannot be used for anti-piracy operations, as the Chinese believe their operations in the Indian Ocean region off the coast of Djibouti are all about. Our sources telling us that these are weapon systems which are very sophisticated. They're meant to actually patrol large areas and keep track of Indian naval assets in the area. So there's a lot more that the Chinese are over here in terms of what they are doing, is what India argues. Now, this is the second warship of the 3 entering the Indian Ocean region. It's a slightly unclear picture, but it's a picture taken from one of those P-8 maritime reconnaissance aircraft that I was talking about. This is a Chinese Type 52 class destroyer. It's among the most advanced ships of their class which the Chinese actually operate. I believe it's a Type 52C, one of the newer variants which have been deployed. And this is in fact a better picture. It's a file picture, but it gives you an idea of what this warship is all about. Now, the Indian Navy also has its assets in the area. This is another Chinese warship, a Type 54 class frigate. It's one of the most commonly deployed Chinese warships, certainly present in the Indian Ocean region quite frequently. And India has warships like this. This is our most advanced surface combatant. It's called the Kolkata class. And we deploy platforms like this in missions across the region. The Indian Navy is mission deployed, by which I mean they deploy to areas like off the coast of Africa, to other regions as well, certainly further north to the Persian Gulf region. That's another area of big interest, in addition to keeping track of Pakistan and areas further south. This is the Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal also, an area which is critically important. So that's certainly one of the stories that I've been looking at very closely today. But there are other stories as well. and we'll be looking at this very closely at about 9:30 p.m. this evening on Left, Right and Centre, the entire issue of Hindi and linguistic chauvinism and the sensibilities of political leaders and people in the south of our country on the proposed plan to introduce Hindi in a bigger way is something that's problematic. It's certainly problematic to southern leaders like Kamal Hassan. And the context of this was Amit Shah saying at a very big Hindi conclave that Hindi needs to be a unifier in this country, and a lot of people believe that that needs to be the case. But there are those who believe that in a country as diverse as ours, where there are so many languages which are spoken, it becomes problematic to impose Hindi because it comes at the cost of the rich cultural heritage and the linguistic heritage of languages like Tamil, which Kamal Hassan speaks about.
Unity in diversity is a promise we made when we made India into a republic. Now, no Shah, Sultan or Samrat should renege on that promise. We respect all languages, but our mother language will always be Tamil. Jallikattu was just a protest. The battle for our language will be exponentially bigger than that. India or Tamil Nadu does not need or deserve such a battle. Most of the nation happily sings their national anthem in Bengali with pride and will continue to do so. The reason is the poet who wrote the national anthem gave due respect to all language and culture within the anthem, and hence it became our anthem. Do not make an inclusive India into an exclusive one. All will suffer because of such short-sighted folly.
Well, there you have it over there, an idea of this big debate that we'll be looking at very closely on the program today as well. So there you have it on NDTV's YouTube channel. YouTube Live is what we call it, an idea of some of the big stories that we're tracking today.